This is how much we know about movies. We if you want a raw review of movies, you're getting it right here because we don't know shit.
Dad! Fuck, I don't know, man. Is that like nostalgia purposes for kids these age?
I don't give a shit. I don't care.
We get that, Pop.
Fine, I'll Google it. Through the
I
magic
mean, you
of
don't have
podcasting.
to Google it. I'm just saying, just take it out.
No.
Not bring it out, or just be better prepared.
Now I'm shut your fucking mouth.
I am your father.
Man, sometimes I wish like things would stay at a simpler time mentality.
Welcome to the Two Dads Review podcast.
I just don't need like a lot of space.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like,
I need a desk, a computer, a big TV, and I'm set.
yeah, I'm like, my hardest problem is like finding a small house that's just in a nice area. Like, that's the problem. It's like, oh, you want something nice? Well, then you obviously want 6,000 square feet. Nah, I don't.
No, like two.
Actually, I really wish you'd let me move me and my children into that retirement home. I guarantee I'd be the most well-behaved fucking person in that whole block. Like, those are my people. But like, shuffleboard? Hey, look at that. My 16-year-old's not even here half the fucking time. And when he is here, he goes directly to bed because he stays up the whole night the fucking floor over at his buddy's house and has just enough fuel to get through school and whatever test he made. So he just crashes out as soon as he gets home. You'll never hear from him. My young one talks, but shit, half you people probably got fucking Alzheimer's or dementia anywho, so it would just be brilliantly fun for her and also highly entertaining for all of you.
Yeah, brand new conversation every day.
Yeah. I'm like, this is really where I belong. This is where I need to be.
Yeah, my wife and I have said that a billion times. Been like, nope, we need to be in a 55 and older community now.
Yeah, dude, I remember when I was living in Fairfax and I was looking for places before I just kind of walked into my buddy's like townhouse situation, was like, yeah, I'm going to take that room. And just moved myself in and just started paying rent. I was like, you guys got no say in this. But there was like really nice apartments. And like, I got like 3/4 of the way through the application process. And I knew it was a 55 and up place. And then like finally like they were like, yeah, we just want to meet you. And I was like, fuck. Like, I was like, dude, if I could have got my John Hancock on the signature, like they wouldn't have been able to like, I don't know. I've thought like they wouldn't have been able to deny me the keys. How instead of just been like, yeah, dude, obviously this was a blatant lie. You're not 55. We're just going to tear this lease up. None of this shit matters, you know? But, yeah, dude, I tried to move in there so fucking hard. God, I was like, this is it. I was like, my favorite bar's right there. I was like, no one would fucking bother me. I was like, I'm pretty sure a couple of the old dudes that are there, like, I already, like, know from, like, a couple of the weird, like, old activities that I like to do, like, shuffleboard and shit. Like, so, like, I know him from the fucking local YMCA down the road, you know?
That's funny. Like, put on some, like a gray wig and a hat and some thick glasses looking like Robert De Niro. That's what you should have done.
Right? Like, I should have just dressed up as, like, a really old, like, flamboyant person with, like, that puffy collar, you know, and like the lapel pin and like a scarf and shit, and just had like giant frame glasses. So you could really never tell like what was going on there, and just be like, hello, Harold, and fucking walk on by.
Cheerio.
Yeah,
like,
right?
Did you just break into a British accent? What happened? It's my dementia.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
He's just drunk again, which would most certainly have been the occurrence.
Most
there.
certainly would have been the case, yeah.
Just an old drunk man.
Just falling over at the bar with your wig on. This old man's past. He's not an old man at all.
Right?
What is this? Like, this mystery has gotten deeper than we expected.
Someone dress me. I have to go home.
Right? What if you played two people? You could play your old character and you could play his son.
Right?
Who comes by here and there.
Just always fucking visiting.
Right, you're always visiting, but not enough to attract this shit. And then, like, you have to do the Miss Doubtfire thing.
Yeah, like, every time the groceries need to be entered into the house, it's the young kid coming to bring him for his, like, his
As you're hauling down the hall, I'll get it for you, Dad, don't worry.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry, Grandpa, I got it. You're right.
Oh,
You're
man.
right. It sure did take 2 trips.
It sure did. Start the water boiling.
Yeah.
Jesus. That would be the most fun, elaborate lie to do for like a length of time, especially if you're like single and just bored. Just like try to pull it off.
Yeah, like I wish you read. I wish you read more about like shit like that. Like maybe not like stealing an elderly person's like apartment or something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just pretending to be. Oh yeah,
But
if for once in our lives the story started a Florida man.
Like
pretended to be 55.
Yeah, right. Like Liz comical double life. Like
right.
You know, like and it was funny, and it has like a funny like good ending. You know, you're like, that's kind of fucked up, man. But I mean, in the end, it worked out for everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Like a actual movie where you're like, oh, that's cool, dude. Like, yeah, man. Do the double time shift, like kind of stick it to him, fuck it, you know, and then like you get caught and you're like, ooh, shit. But then everybody's like comes to some kind of consensus of like, well, just give a quarter to charitable donations. And he's like, well, that's what I was doing anyways. And they're like, oh shit, really? And you're like, ha, bitches, gotcha. And you're like, oh man, life's fucking crazy when it's nice too, right?
Jesus. Oh man. I did want to tell a story before we started talking about Game of Thrones tonight anyways.
Well, that's cool.
Do you have one first? Why? You had your hands up like you got something to say.
Well, it was so fun. Like, just whatever you just said triggered it. And
go ahead.
I said I had a account security breach for like EA or some shit today. Like, I got FIFA fucking messaging me telling me they deleted all my coins and like for some kind of illegal sharing shit or whatever. And I was like, all right. So like I messaged them. Like I went in and like changed all my shit and saw like these like approved like Russian things and like redid all the security, but then I just like messaged the people. Like, you know, I was like, let me talk to somebody. And I was like, hey man, here's the deal with the account, blah, 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 blah. Like took care of it all. And the dude was real nice. And like, he like walked me back through like all the steps I already did. But he was like, hey man, I'm going to just deactivate your account. He's like, I know you already did it, but we're just going to like kill it. And we're going to just start it scratch. I was like, all right, that works for me. So anyway, man, I get done talking to this guy. And I'm feeling like super jazzed. Like I just made a connection with fucking Riva on goddamn EA's text message, like help desk line. And I said, peace be upon you, my man. And like, that's how I said goodbye to this dude. And I was like, oh, dude, I'm a total fucking hippie now. I was like, and I thought about it. I was like, I think I'm going to just start saying that to everybody. And just instead of saying bye, like, it's just going to be one of those weird, like, nice things, but too long goodbye every time. You know, people will be like, bye. And I'll be like, yeah, man, peace upon you. And they're like, yeah, dude, great day to you. Like, how do I fucking top that? Because it's just like, shit, that guy just was like, I mean, he wished peace upon me. I just wanted a goddamn goodbye, man, right? You know, like
you're gonna cause so many awkward goodbyes, like someone just standing there with their mouth open. You're just gonna walk away, just all like cheery.
Yeah, they're gonna be like, what? Because that kind of shit never comes out of it, unless it's someone who seems overly into whatever. Probably like religious thing it is.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's just a certain kind of dress or outfit associated with whatever it is that's going to happen. And like they say their religious, like contextual goodbye. And you're like,
they'll say,
all right, I got it. Yeah.
If you hit a certain group of people, you'll get, and also with you, you'll get that back to you. That's what the response to what you say is.
Yeah, that is true. I've heard that before. Who was that? Who did that come from? Was that the Mormons? No,
Lutherans do it. I know that much.
Lutherans?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the fuck used to say that. Like I knew somebody, and it was like a you know, like a bank teller or someone. Like not someone I knew, but someone I saw because they worked there for like 15 fucking years. And it was just like, all right, unto you or whatever, you know, like just something like that. And you're like, I don't really know if like you mean that or it's kind of like malevolent at the same time, right? Like unto you, you know, like that just, it's like, I feel like you just sapped like the bad out of that and just sent it back to me. Like unto is not something I ever want to hear like uttered in my direction from anybody. Like I feel like some kind of weird curse is coming on.
That's funny. You have to tell me. I mean, and especially with your beard and like the weird way that you dress sometimes, you're gonna say that to someone, and they're gonna give you that open mouth like, and you're gonna walk away, and they're gonna go, "Hey man, are you Jesus? Are you? Did I just miss my shot? Is there something Am I gonna go to hell? What happened? I think you're gonna literally cause someone to like question their entire life." That's all. You're just gonna mess someone up. You gotta turn around and be like,
well, the worst part is, dude, is I'm gonna do it, and I'll be at like Chuck E. Cheese with like my kid playing fucking skee ball, and someone will have like the Dogma reference like in the back of their head, and I'll say like, "Yeah, man, peace upon you, dude. Later." And and all of a sudden they're like, "Wait, that motherfucker was playing skee ball." I'm like, you know,
right? Oh man. Well, that story is that's a way cooler story than my story about your fucking paperweight of a lawnmower that you let me borrow.
Yeah, dude, that thing was like left at my parents' rental, and my dad brought it over, and he was like, "I don't know if it starts." And then I think I remember like I cranked it up, and I was like, "All right," and then it just sat there for like 8.5 months because I was like, "I don't fucking need it. There's no reason for me to use it. It's just out of the weather." And then by the time you got it, it was like, "Oh yeah, dude, I quit fucking months ago. Thank you for like actually like that mower was like the toy found at like the bottom of the toy bin in like Toy Story. You know, it was like, oh,
well, let me tell you what.
I know you felt good, dude.
I dusted it up, dude. Okay, look.
I felt proud for you. I felt proud for you. Like when you were texting me, I was like, that's right, my man. Get it, yeah."
That morning started off with like, "What the fuck did you lend me? This piece of shit doesn't work." And so I was like, okay, all right, let's step back. Yeah, I was like, let's step back. Because here's what happened. I was mowing my lawn with my standard normal lawnmower. It's even like the really nice, it's not super nice, but it's the one like the engine will keep running, but like the letting off on the hand hold will let the blade stop, but the mower keeps going so you can like take the grass bag off, dump it, and not to pull the cord again and keep going, keep restarting it. It's nice. So like I was mowing the backyard a couple weekends ago, and like I do a swap down each side of my house, like to like frame my property, and then just go do the backyard, right? Mm-hmm. Well, I had done my swath down each side of my front yard, and then all the way up the back of the hill, and then as I was one of my times when I was getting ready to crank the blades back up again, I pulled the thing, and it was like click. And I could like pull the cord, the cable out, and I was like, "Well, my front yard's got a mohawk now because it's bare on both sides and tall in the middle." I was like, "What the shit?" And I was like, "Well, that's not getting done today. I'm glad the backyard's done." So, it's like, I asked a buddy of mine. I was like, "Hey, not you." I asked someone else. I was like, "Hey, can I borrow a lawnmower?" He's like, "Yeah, but you've got to like when you start it up, when you turn it off, you have to pull the spark plug like wire out." And I'm like, "I'm not borrowing that shit." Like, I will kill myself. Like, no. So I asked you, and you're like, "Yeah, sure, here you go." So I came over and got it. You're like, "I started it a while back, but it's been a while." So I get it home and toss some new gas. I'm like, "I'll just throw some more gas in it, see what happens." Yanking it, pulling my shoulder out. And I was like, "What the fuck is this?" So like so now it's like, okay, what do I know? All right, I was like, if it's not starting, but it's like getting that like funk 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 sound, like when you're not just pulling a cord for nothing, you're hearing it like trying to do something.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, I know nothing about engines, like let me go get a spark plug, let me look it up, and let me get an air filter because the air filter looks like shit. So that right there is my engine knowledge. I was like, I'm out. Like I can look up part numbers and go buy them from Lowe's. And so I went and got those, put them on. I was like, oh wait, how do you test the gap in a spark plug? Went back out to AutoZone, bought a gap tester for the freaking spark plug, which was like $1, and changed the gap in the spark plug, make sure that was right, stuck it in there, pulled the thing. I'm like, yeah, here we go. Nothing. And that's when you got more texts, and I was like, has this thing ever really run, or are you just messing with me now?
I was like, yes, fix my mower, fix my mower. I like how one of the things you did send me was like, you may not get this back.
Yeah, but that was after I fixed it.
I know.
So then I was like, okay, what's next? So I started Googling around and I figure out, okay, this Briggs & Stratton has an issue with the carburetor clogging up. And I was like, okay, let's see what we do here. So first you have to like drain and I've already put a full tank of gas in this thing. So like you have to drain all the gas out first. And if you drain it from the carburetor, there's no way to control it. So you have to disconnect the fuel line. Okay, whatever. Never done that before. So I figured that out, but I end up tearing the fuel line in the process because it's old. And I don't know what I'm doing. So then I'm back out to AutoZone again, holding up fuel line, matching it to the right stuff, and then cutting me a piece of fuel line and taking it back to the house. And so I popped the carburetor out. I got the fuel drained out. I did the spray. I sprayed the carburetor out, threw it back in there, put a new fuel line on. Now, the guy I watched the video, he's like, if you don't trust what you did, just put a little gas in it because you're going to have to dump it out again. He's like, if you do trust what you did, fill it up. So I put a little bit of gas in it. I pulled that shit and it cranked up on the first pull and I was like, there's nobody in this world better than me right now. Here, right now. Uh-huh. I am the greatest man. I am all that is man right here on this front driveway. And I pretty much just strutted through my tall grass for like 10 minutes. Well, that thing it just ran and it was great. Yep. And then it mowed my lawn and I told you on a text at the end, I was like, this is a great, amazing machine that you lent me. Thank you, sir. I was like, what? It was a good day at the end of it. Started with a non-working lawnmower and unmowed grass, and now at the end of the day, I had a working lawnmower with all kinds of new parts and shit on it, and a mowed lawn. So that was a good weekend. That was a good Sunday.
Yeah, man, it was all around. I was thrilled with your Texas.
It was all to amuse you. I did tell you that since I what did I say? Something like, now that I've mastered the machine, I may have to fuck it. Yeah, something like that. And I remember you sitting, because that was after you told me you would keep it, and I was like, you fucked that mower. I don't want it back, dude. Like, go ahead, that's all yours. You could lick it and probably keep it. Like, you don't. We're good. We don't need to go that far. Right. It doesn't help. It's worse when your mower breaks in the spring because it's not like small engine repair guys are like a dime a dozen in this world anymore. So there's like one every 50 miles. So like you take him there, he's like, yeah, sure, I'll get it fixed in 2 weeks. I'm like, what the? It's just a cable, like just one cable. Like I just don't know how to do it. Just do it. I'm not gonna feed that thing. I don't even know where it goes because it's the one that turns the blades on. Like if it was something else.
Luckily we have like a decent shop like right up the road from us.
Yeah, that's the 2 weeks one. He's a great shop.
But I'm saying like he is like the largest of large scale like small repair shops like you're ever gonna find. Like normally it's a dude that's like his window front and then it's like just a small shack and it's like, yeah, I just drive up here on the weekends and fix shit. And you're like, cool. And he's like, so it'll be like 2.5 months before I ever get to fucking anything of yours. And you're like, well, this is what you call monopoly, so I'll see you fucking...
Right.
But that guy also tuned your mower up so you never touch it, like have to do shit for it, but like once a fucking year where you go, hey, Jim, I'll see you next winter. I'm going to bring it back in real quick. And you're like, all right, got you. Or, you can't hear half the fucking words he says.
Yeah, right. Yes. And it's, he's definitely, the lady at AutoZone was like, there used to be a person where I used to live somewhere, wherever she said, she's like, that used to make house calls because half of us that own lawnmowers don't own vehicles that you can transport the lawnmower in to get it to the small engine repair. And the guy would come to your house with a car full of spark plugs and stuff and like fix it. And I was like, that's a really good idea. Like that's a really good idea. Now that I know how to fix everything about lawnmowers.
Yeah, well, that's like those dudes that you see up there by our grocery store that are like there in that empty little parking lot there like every weekend. I think
they just go around and buy old lawnmowers, fix them up, and then sell them for 18 times the price they bought it for at a yard sale.
Yeah, I remember like swinging through there one, and there was a pretty decent mower in there, and that fucker cranked right up, and I was like, when I needed a push mower, and I was like, all right, and I was like, how much? And the guy was like, blah blah blah, and I was like,
have you been to Lowe's, bro?
Yeah, I was like,
right.
I was like, dude, I can go buy a pretty decent mower for that price, and like, if I'm really that hard pressed, I can replace it with some bigger wheels. Like, I can do that. You know, like, you know what I can't do? Sharpen the fucking blades. Really, that's about all I can't do. And I feel that's what you've done to this mower. Which I don't know if that's really worth the whole gamble.
What you've done is what my buddy Clay did off of YouTube in 3 hours, so I'm not really sure you've done that much to it. Yeah. I've heard that about that guy before. Anyways, enough the dad's story corner. Let's talk this week's episode of Game of Thrones, man. The long night, the big battle,
I wish I had LASIK before I watched this fucking episode.
Right, you hope you watched it at midnight because you really needed to be in the pitch dark to watch it. I was watching it on my commute. Like, I got out of the car and was walking on the sidewalk, still watching it for like 3 seconds. And I was like, no, I'm literally staring at a black screen on my phone. Like, I don't know what's going on right now. I can't do this.
Yeah, I watched it like early morning and I had to like hang up
curtains
like
in your
curtain, like a bed sheet, you know, like above the fucking railing there. And even then I was like, it's dark as shit outside of being like nighttime dark in my room. And I was like, I mean, I don't have a huge expensive like super processor TV. Like, but it's also 70 fucking inches, man. Like, I shouldn't be like going, huh?
Yeah. It was very dark.
You know, like,
and I think a lot of because what's really sad is that all that they went through to make this episode and how grandiose a scale it was and everything they went through prop wise and graphics wise and just the sheer immensity of the set. They were like doing shit in brand new ways they hadn't done it before when it comes to like laying bodies. They were making it was cool because I watched like the 40-minute thing that Game of Thrones released a couple days later, like on their YouTube channel. Mm-hmm. And instead of just like Battle of the Bastards, they had just a billion like dead dummies that were all dressed up, and they were like, that was the worst thing ever. So what they did was like lay 5 of them down all in the right garb and then take a cast of that hump of dead bodies and then just kept recasting that disc of people, and they could just bring these discs of people everywhere and just pile them up and paint them right and put some, you know, throw in a couple of live you know, extras, and it would look amazing. And I was like, that's ingenious. And it really helps when like Tormund and Gendry are standing on a pile of bodies and just swinging away, like to just make this giant mound of bodies. I mean, that's just that. There's just so I watched it twice. Did you watch it once? Did you get a chance to watch it again today? Did you try again today?
No, I didn't get a attempt.
Okay, I watched it twice, and if anybody who's listening, like, watch it the first time and just is upset at it or not feeling the way you wanted to feel, you didn't have that like pity or like I remember watching Battle of the Bastards and like the pit of my stomach, I was like nervous for everybody. Like I'm nervous like for John mostly.
Like when I watched the Red Wedding, I was like, what the fuck? And of course that was like one of the first like super grandiose things that like this show did. And even the people that read the books were like, oh man, you guys, so like it got hyped up and like I felt like it did it justice. You know, I was like, all right. Which also kind of like skewed my opinion about everything else they do in the show. You know, I was like, well, if you guys did Red Wedding, like you fucking do everything else right. But like Battle of the Bastards, I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. I don't know, for whatever reason, like at no point for this episode was I like, oh man, it's going down. Because I was like, it's gonna be just an overrun massacre. I was like, a bunch of people are probably gonna die, and then we're gonna get like our last crew probably left. I kind of thought the Night King was gonna go out. I was like, I don't think he's gonna make it past Winterfell just because Cersei's just at home. You know, I was like, they're gonna have to do something to get it to her, and unless it's that White Walker crew just annihilating fucking everybody here. Because I was like, if they wipe out everything that's gone on at Winterfell, like, I don't give a fuck if they're like, well, we got the Golden Army from fucking Hellboy and it never dies. I'm like, well, that guy does too. So you're fucked. Like, because he's going to end up killing more humans. You know, like it just.
I felt like for the first time watching Game of Thrones that there were characters that had plot armor for once. Like I was like, I know half of you going to be fine. Like I kind of mentioned it last week, and I want to bring it up again today. We're going to talk about whenever anybody talks to me about weddings, you talk about your circles of family and friends. Mm-hmm. So like you have about 3 circles. Your first circle is like your immediate family and immediate long friends. Like if you're going to have 20 people at a wedding, it's those people, right?
Yeah.
Now, what happens is though, once you go outside of that close group, you then have to invite everybody in that next ring. So you have your extended family, like cousins and aunts and maybe some second cousins still in there if you were close when you were kids. And then you have not just your close friends, but you have, the ones from college that you talk to here and there, but you kind of want him in your bachelor party because he's kind of going to be crazy. Those kind of guys. They're in the second ring. And then you have your third ring, which is like somebody from work, but you invite one person from work, then you have to invite, and then the ring, and so you go from like 20 to 50 to like 100 plus wedding. You know what I'm saying? That's how weddings go. And I felt like we killed a lot of 3 rings. A lot of people in the third ring in this episode. We didn't really. You maybe got a couple of 2 rings, but they were never really going to go very far. And the ones that did die, kind of the 2 that I say were from the second ring, went out exactly how they had to go out. Like they went out in the most badass way possible, or they went out doing what they've been doing and has been their goal since episode 1 of the entire show.
Yeah, I was not. God damn it! It makes me just sound like such an asshole. Like I just wasn't impressed with anything about like this episode. Like at no point was I ever really wowed. Like last year when I first saw like the fucking ice dragon and shit like that, I was like, oh man, this is fucking crazy. But for all the glorious things that were going on in this episode, the sheer fact that I could barely see 3/4 of it, mm-hmm. and the only stuff that I really got to see was when it all kind of slowed down. I mean, there was just like, okay, we rode the Dothrakis off, and they're supposed to be like literally the baddest fucking army that has ever been on ground, mm-hmm. right? And all we're gonna do with them is fucking ride them all off with some fucking candles, and then we're just gonna watch them all get like. I know these things are supposed to be badass and all, but you're telling me like we couldn't have got up in there and seen that a little bit more,
Well,
like,
that was isn't that the whole point? Is not to see the monster till the very end of the movie or till the very end of the scene.
That's just it. We already know what the fuck the monster is. Like there should have been no like. Also, I should have watched all 4 of the big white fucking dudes that ride along like they're doing something fight. I should have watched them do something other than like just be there and be like.
Be there and be the no. They're there being the worst bodyguard, the worst Secret Service ever.
Yeah, like what the fuck, man? It just, I don't know, dude. Like it. I mean, it's cool, I guess. I don't know. Like I sent you the message. I was like, we agree that this was kind of like a crap episode for as much as it was supposed to be like awesome.
I have a feeling that if they were to release a version of this episode that was like tweaked brightness wise by like 15%, everyone who has a problem, including you, would have way, way, way less of a problem, because you're right. It was I think the darkness and the inability to, like, the Battle of the Bastards was outside in the daytime. Like you could see everything that happened, and it was crazy carnage, walls of bodies and circles of people, just that whole, like when they had him encircled and they were just stabbing at him as they were like closing in on him, and John was like suffocating, like you felt that. And this one you were like, I'm pretty sure a lot of you are gonna make it, especially because they kept at least 3, if not 4 times in the episode, they swung a camera past everyone we cared about. So we all knew, like, okay, don't worry, Gendry and Tormund and Brienne and Jaime, and they're all okay still. Yeah, Grey Worm, they're all fine.
Like, or you would have, like, moments where, like, a dude was swarmed, and you're like, oh, shit, they're gone. But then you would see other action in the fight, and then there would be a scene where that fighter that we were just kind of watching comes back through, and he, like, glances. And then you see said kind of main character that was just gobbled up moments ago. And it was like, oh, you Your arms still work? You're still fucking good hacking and slashing after that? Okay. Right. Yeah.
Well, it's not. But you're thinking zombies. You're thinking they're like, these things. I don't know. You're right. There were a few times that Brienne got pretty swarmed, and I was like, well, she's a knight now, so she can go.
Yeah, she should have been dead numerous times.
Jamie saved her a few times.
Yeah, when all of those, like, every character that got swarmed like that, there's no way they would have ever got, like, those things could have just stopped moving and they would have suffocated them. Like, you're just done. You're not getting out of that pile. And especially if the whole pile's going like, I'm going to stab the fuck out of you and I'll stab the thing in front of me to get to you. Like, I don't give a shit. Because we watched them all lay down on fucking fire. Not giving a fuck about that. So,
right.
They should be dead. Like, I'm mad that more people did not die. Like, that bothered me. Because I was like, oh, so we're just going to go, hey, this is the Yellow Brick Road crew and they're all going to go make it. Like, no.
Right, because it's not what you expect from Game of Thrones. Here's what I expected, and we'll jump to the end. When Arya makes her jump, and he grabs her by the throat, I fully expected him to snap her neck and kill her right there on the spot. And all of that would have been, that's Rob getting his head cut off. That's not Rob. That's Ned getting his head cut off. That's Rob's wife getting stabbed in the pregnant belly. That's that's what you're like. Oh shit! Everything you just like, your entire journey led you to nothing. Like, it's hopelessness, and that's like, I expected him fully to snap her neck. That being said, I almost woke my kids up when she stabbed him in one and did a superhero landing. I was like, oh, Cersei's fucking dead. I was like, you get it, girl. I was like, go ahead.
Like, when Arya did that, I was like, woo! Like, fucking Ric Flair the fuck across my house, man. But the fucked up expect the worst part of me that Game of Thrones has, like,
shown me for years.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. Like, I thought she was coming in, and I was like, oh, snap. Bran's gonna, like, warg into his brain to distract him, and she's gonna stab him or something like that, right? Like, I kind of thought like a family dynamic was gonna go, but man, when he snatched her out of the air, I went,
nice try, girl.
I went, don't kill her. Like, I yelled that at the TV. I was like, don't you kill her? And I thought she was gonna die, and then I watched the whole dagger drop, and I was like, oh, kind of like, oh, we're bringing it back, yeah. Like, so I had no problem with that at all. Like, that, like, if you get into the whole, like, mythos, of the god of light and stuff like that, like, and if, Arya's supposed to be that reincarnation and whatnot, I kind of wish, like, her eyes would have went, like, Raiden or something. Like, when, like, what I'm saying? Like, when, when the lady in red was like, in eyes of blue, and it all clicks together, kind of like, oh shit, we finally unlocked the missing piece. And as she, like, takes off, you just kind of caught, like, a glimpse of something magical, right? And I know, like, she is more than capable of doing what she did. I'm not taking that away. Like, she was trained to, like, remove her face and do whatever the fuck that is. So she can more than kill anything she ever wants. That is not the issue. The issue is just, like, I kind of knew a little bit about the book myth and stuff like that. And I just was kind of wanting Game of Thrones, especially since it's the last season, to kind of amp up that magic. They kind of always say it's from the old times, because we're going to get a new from the start, thing. And then there's supposed to be more magic really involved in that whole section of Game of Thrones. And I was kind of wanting something like that to happen a little bit. And I mean, just something small, like her, just like when he grabbed her by the throat, like her eyes glowed and he went like, oh shit, there it is, as she's dropping the dagger, like, fuck, something like that. Like, don't get me wrong, I was still, like, jumping off my fucking couch and bouncing on the edge of my seat during this whole sequence. I'm just saying, in my personal viewing of the episode when I die later in life, in my personal TV, like, that will have happened in my episode, like.
Yeah, I did enjoy about the show, about this episode. I enjoyed that the directors split it up into, I mean, we really got three different genres of type of movie during this episode. You know, the first part of it up until the library was like a suspense slash, you know, battle type movie. You had that whole build up to it, everybody getting ready. They had some really nice tracking shots, like the very opening scenes, like a minute and a half or 2 minutes of straight long takes. You know how like super hard I get for long takes, where it starts off with Sam and then it passes off to Tyrion, and we see Lyanna Mormont getting her folks ready, and you know, just everybody prepping. Like, I like a long take, and they walk you through the whole courtyard, and then the courtyard becomes, you know, later on becomes like the main area. They're all like, speaking of circles again, it's the whole battle was just circles closing in on you. Like, everything was still coming in, and you're losing the ground. You know what you're fighting on. But so that first part was like a suspense, you know, battle movie. Then you had the library scene, which is a straight up horror movie, which was, I loved when Arya got to start. Like when they first climbed the wall and she starts to use that staff that she had Gendry build for her. Oh, and she takes out like 20 of them. Yeah. And Davos is up on the stairs like, what the fuck? Like, he was just like watching her do that giant kill streak, and I was like,
you know, in the back of his head, he was like,
I'm gonna follow her.
I'm a survivor. we know who to fucking throw all my fucking ducks, marbles, eggs, whatever the hell I may have at this point in time with. Like,
right. I'm putting my money on that one. Did you see what we didn't? Did you see what her weapon did that we hadn't known? We saw it kind of in the drawing, but didn't really know what they were talking about. Did you see that she could use the staff in full length, but when she fought them into that hallway, she split it in half and was able to fight with both sides of it in both hands?
Yeah.
And then put it back together? Like, she didn't do that when Gendry first gave it to her, right before they banged. But that right there was like, you know the kind of fighting you're going to do, and you know Winterfell. Like, the best part about that was it was like, that was her home ground. Like, I know all the corners. I know the fighting I'm going to have to be doing. I know I know my terrain. Mm-hmm. And so having that staff break into two and then be able to be reassembled quickly and broken apart quickly is what, you know, saved her. And not to mention, like, that dive over top, like when she had fought him up one side of the stairs and they were coming up both sides, so she just decided to just friggin' dive over and roll down the whole bunch of them.
Yeah, that was cool as shit.
That was wild. But then she gets like clocked in the head, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, you got knocked silly, girl. Get up. Come on. Mm-hmm. This ain't MMA. Get up. Let's go. So.
Yeah, I didn't care for the library scene.
Why?
Because it was stupid. There was no point for it to be like that. Like, why all of a sudden would a mass horde of raging lunatic killing zombies just go, I'm gonna shamble around the only quiet place we ever fucking known to be quiet
in. Few of them made it in there, and they were waiting to hear noises, so why, like, run around?
Because it's a fucking siege, so there's no point to be, like, rambling, like, just shambling around the place. Nah, like, that was just there to show her, like, fucking spy skills. Like, I would have been way cool with it. I know she was exhausted if she just murdered them all. Just fucking flat out murdered them all. But, like, then she throws a book, and all of a sudden, like, the guy goes, oh, the book. Ah, you know, like, no.
Hey, do you want to, okay, you may hate that scene for when it is in this show, but, like, I just loved watching her. You could see her, like, turn on her quiet. Like, you could see her, like, she got her back up against that bookshelf, and she's like, okay, this is what I got now. And, like, you could see her, like, zone herself into, like, her water dancing, you know, and where she could move without making any noise. And I love that.
Dude, when she fucking went, like, all equilibrium and the goddamn thing stopped moving, like, don't get me wrong, everything she did was fucking cool. It's just...
I know.
It's just so out of place given, like, what the fuck's going on, like, everywhere else. Okay, like, when they busted through the door right when she made it out, that should have happened about 2.5 minutes sooner when she was in that room. Like, She should have never been to dance around there for, like, 5 full fucking minutes to get out of that place. Like, we could have seen her stealth skills in so many different ways than, like, taking a thing that are not zombies, but they are zombies that we've already been just shown that they're just all out, all go, all the fucking time, to all of a sudden go, hey guys, you're in a library. Quiet down.
Right. Do you want a little Star Trek Discovery link between this episode and Star Trek Discovery? So the zombie, the white that is stumbling around in the library and bends over to like look for her under the table, and does that whole like weird weird jerky motion, and you could tell he's a really big tall dude. That is Javier Bardem, which is the guy that Doug Jones, he played the Baul alien. He's the one that Doug Jones was like, if I can't do it, he could do it, because it's the same kind of like bone structure. They're tall and lanky and literally live in prosthetics their entire careers.
Nice.
So that's who that was, and he played the Baul guy who was all oily and gross in Discovery. So that was, I was like, because they mentioned his name, like, yeah, we found this great guy, Javier Bardem. I was like, oh, I fucking know that guy. I was like, I know so much about TV. It's like I do a podcast about it or something. That's crazy.
It's like I can start to look this shit up in my free time.
Right? I have nothing else to do, literally. But yeah, so that was a cool little thing. I know what you're saying, and I know what you mean about that scene. But if you had gotten 82 minutes of hacking and slashing straight, like, it would have been, you have to break that up somehow. Like, or you would have gotten numb to it, even though you couldn't see it real good. You'd have gotten numb to it after a while. You're like, okay, they're just hacking and things are falling and there's just piles and piles of bodies. Big deal. Like, they did that to like break up. They kind of gave everybody a break. While it was still tense, it was a different style of movie or show, scene.
I get that.
And then they broke. And then the last half was like just your straight up, just action. Just action. It was that long take. There's another long take when John was running down, when John was like, after his
the dumbest dragon battle in the
after his
ever.
I will tell you that. I will give you the dragon battle stuff. I almost could have done with that being taken out way earlier. The only thing cool that we got out of it was that either Drogon or Rhaegar got the ice dragon like in the throat. So like after he got injured, like when you saw him, he was like puffing out fire out of like the side of his neck and shit. I was like, man, that's real cool. That's
cool.
Real cool.
Like, yeah, it was cool. Like, again, like Arya's scene, really cool. It just doesn't make sense to me why it was done there. Like, I don't know. You could have made it where they got in like the back door somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't just an all-out assault, and these guys just happened to be, like, meandering for whatever fucking reason in the library. I just, or, like, when they're climbing the walls, and we saw because so far, every time I saw any one of those things get stabbed with that fucking dragon glass, like, they instantly drop. And it doesn't really seem to be where it is. It's not like you got to get them in the fucking head or the eye or
they
the
literally
heart.
have to just get cut by it.
It's like a paper cut and they're dead. So, I'm looking at where they got this dragon glass like all structured, and I'm going like, I know it was limited. I understand that. But I feel like their strategic placement of a lot of this stuff was just not good. Like, I kind of expected to see like maybe some fireballs from the catapults get like chucked the fuck out there and like explode some dragon glass shit in the ground, so that it seems anytime any of them walked through there, dead, at least one. Like, right, that's what we're trying to do. We're like, trying to take out something, or
like John McClane, broken glass, bare feet type thing in the middle of the field. They're on, just like they're walking through it.
And like when they were piling up all in the walls, like why wasn't there more dragon glass? Like, just even the wood and dragon glass put together, like stationed right there. They were going to go up that way. But even then, they had it not in the small section that everybody crawls through at the top of the castle. They only had it up at the top parts where you would like maybe put your hands to pull yourself through. But those guys are grabbing the first thing in front of them, which is usually a human. So it like just dumb. Like, I'm just kind of like going back through the episode, and I was like, you guys. I mean, you had time. Like, this wasn't like they marched there in a day and a half, you know? Like, they had time to do all of this stuff, and it was not that great.
I thought the big giant logs with the spikes, they were logs that had then like rods of wood sticking out of them, and like I thought those were meant to be cut loose and like roll down the wall and then roll out over top of, so you have the spikes on the side that keep it rolling, so it's not just a log rolling on the ground that's going to stop at the first chunk of things. It's going to keep going over people and like, taking them out like at the waist, and it's got dragon glass all over it. I thought those were going to get cut loose. They never got cut loose, but
yeah, it was just kind of like when they were at the wall and they cut the big, like, sweeping pendulums.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I know that wasn't going to be on the castle wall, but I was kind of expecting the genius that thought of that from a giant ice wall. Like, some of that would have trickled down into everybody that's about to fortify this one fucking area. Like, there would have been some tactical genius amongst all of them, people going, that's a good trench. I know why we only decided to dig it 20 feet away from the fucking castle, and we didn't make probably multiple trenches. Shit like that. It just, like, I don't know, man. Like,
and the worst thing is, like,
I think this episode almost got too hyped up for me.
Right.
Because I was expecting it to blow Battle of the Bastards, Red Wedding, and everything just out of the fucking water. And I don't even think it came remotely close to either one of them.
Battle of the Bastards or the Battle on the Lake or Hard Home or any of those things?
Any of them, dude. I think this is by far one of the worst battles in all of Game of Thrones.
Oh, man. That's rough to say. And it's, and part of me understands a little bit of what you're saying when it comes to like the actual story told during the battle, but part of me like did the research on like how they did everything.
Oh, and I appreciate that. Like, if we're
that's
talking,
the worst part.
Like, if you gave me every episode or like ring of this one individually, I'd be like, I have really nothing to argue about. Everything was cool. Like, that was sweet. But then when you try to put it all together, it's clunky. It doesn't work, and like the just shit you knew people wanted to fucking see. Like, right? It's like, hey, Twitter, everybody and their fucking mother wants a goddamn edit button, but you just won't do it. Like, you just won't do it.
Right.
It's like Game of Thrones was like, we know you want to see these dragons. We're gonna make it dark, and guess what? He's gonna call in a winter storm.
Ugh.
And then you know what that's gonna do? Apparently now our dragons are sight-only animals, and the two humans that are like quasi-fucking controlling them, like, they don't know where the hordes of things are to still like swoop down and go kill. Like, oh shit, man, we just gotta go high and I guess float around, blah, blah, blah. You could hear them screaming, fucker. Like, you know where to go. Dive in that direction. Like, just dumb shit like that through this whole episode, where every other episode you got like a real fucking fight. This was show that did not turn out well.
Yeah, I feel like if it was lightened and it like if half the dragon stuff was taken out, it could have been better to a certain extent. I don't hate the episode. I enjoy it more the second time around because I was just able to like watch it and know what's coming up, and not because I was so like, what's gonna happen? Once you watch it, when you know who's gonna die and you know who's gonna live, and you know that like for once in the world of Game of Thrones, characters actually have plot armor and are not gonna die because there's still shit they have to do. Like, that's the only surprise to me of the show is like Brienne didn't die, and even Pod's still alive. That dude made it out of there. We thought he was gonna drop like first shot, like all that was gonna be, well, sorry bro, like you didn't make it, but he's everybody's there. So let's talk about who we did lose. Okay, let's talk just for a little bit about the dead. All right.
Hold on, speaking of Podrick, did you see the interaction between Gendry and T-Pain on Twitter?
No, I did not.
So T-Pain tweeted something along the lines of like, oh shit, get Arya Stark some real dick or good dick for like killing the fucking, White Walker guy. And the guy that plays Gendry comes in and he's like, no offense, And then like T-Pain and him basically have like a small interaction, like, nah, man, no big deal. Then like T-Pain like kind of jabs at him. He's like, whispers and hands keys to Podrick. And it's just like, because we all know Podrick's fucking just God's gift in the bedroom. So
right.
It's a funny little Twitter exchange that happened because of the episode.
That's funny. Well, if she hadn't been making that sorrowful face afterwards, everybody wouldn't think that she didn't enjoy it. That's the problem.
Glad I didn't see any of it, man.
That was later on when they cut back to everybody during the song.
Yeah, but see, then like I don't know what the fuck it's all about. Like I just think that face is like, man, we all might die tomorrow.
That's what that face really was, but
like,
everyone took it as like...
but like, see, because I didn't put any of the other pre-context that was there to it, that's all I got. Like, I didn't need to be like, oh shit, dude, what if that was like, I mean, it's just probably like most women's experience in bed.
I've had better.
Yeah. Every woman's fucking Jim Carrey. That's for goddamn sure.
Okay, so let's talk about who we did lose, and I'll try to kind of go in order. So poor Ed dies. Poor Ed dies like not saving Sam, but he had just saved Sam, and Sam was like, "Oh, thanks, buddy," and then
he got stabbed in the back.
And that was like, okay.
He got the stab. He got the stab that causes the blood to come out the mouth.
Right, whichever stab that is in the body.
Yeah, whatever organ that is near the something, that happened.
Yeah, and that was Sam. I'll tell you what, Sam, he was literally like just laying on bodies, stabbing whatever fell on him.
Mm-hmm.
Like for most of that, which honestly, that plays his character. And the stunt coordinator was even like, he's like, I feel bad because I spend my entire time trying to make Kit look cooler. And I have to make this guy look bad. Like he has to be not cool. Like he has to be the worst thing ever. And like the guy's a real nice guy, but I have to make him look horrible at things. And like my entire job is to make Kit look better.
That's like when, one of your buddies who happens to be the slightly more crazier one, and you play sports with him or something, looks at you and he goes, I need you to slap me, dude. And you're like, I mean, I'm going to do it, dude, but how hard are we talking here? Because, like, I don't want to hit you so hard you get mad, but I also want to, like, not hit you hard enough to get you amped up. So, like, we're in a fine line here. Like, I feel every time he goes over to Sam, he's like, look, dude, this isn't fucking personal, right? But I need you to be the biggest coward ever. Right now.
Right.
Like
right. You're gonna fall over all fat.
Or like Sam comes to him and he's like, hey man, I need you to get me in character. Like, can you belittle me for a little bit? And you're like, no, I can't. I cannot do that.
Right. Let's talk for a minute about Lyanna Mormont. Just a little bit. Let's just talk about who died the best in this entire fucking episode. Like, if there is no other way she could have, there is no other death that could be better for her. You could not sell me on anything else but what exactly happened. Especially like,
Did you laugh?
When he first came through the door and like just sideswiped her, I was kind of like, oh, is that it? Like, oh shit. I was like, man.
Okay, so yes, I like died laughing. Like, I paused the episode. I was laughing so hard. And the only real reason is because on Netflix, way back when, there was this movie called Pervert. And it's a really shitty, like, this was when Netflix was like, hey, dude, we'll just take anything in our library to, like, make sure we got movies kind of film. I think it was almost like Cinemax, like, softcore porn. But there's, like, a scene where this, like, mechanic kicks this baby and, like, punts it over like the auto mechanic garage, and I really don't even remember like the correlation of why that fucking scene happened in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny as hell. It's one of the funniest things you will ever see in your life. And as soon as she got swatted, like flashbacks of that just popped into my brain, and I was then like intermixing the two scenes, and I was done, dude. I was like, fuck me, man. But when she got, like
picked up.
Yeah.
First she got up.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, she got up, and I was like, oh, man, if he's going to, like, smash you, I wish just the SWAT and you dying against the wall was the way you went out. Because I thought it was about to get worse for her. And I was like, okay, you know what, GOT? of all the people right now, like, this young girl's been, like, given all the spunk that that's the one you're gonna go crush hopes and dreams on everybody with. There are numerous other people out here that could get it, right?
Right.
And then she gets snatched up, and I was like, is this motherfucker about to eat her?
That's like at first he was like, you could like hear her armor crunching, so she's like getting just squoze,
just constricted to death, yeah, dude.
Yeah, and then yes, he's bringing her closer, and I'm like, he's gonna bite her. Honestly, if he had bit her head off, that still would have been a pretty badass way to go. But you know, her stabbing him in the eye, I was like, and like her last, she was dead as she stabbed him, she died. Like, she was already dead.
Oh, yeah, before she fell down to the ground and bounced out of his hand and shit. Yeah, like, she was done. That was like the light coming down and it going, you have enough juice to stab this dude in the eye, or you can just leave now. Your choice. We got enough time for that.
She's like, I'm gonna stab this motherfucker
she's like,
in the eye.
I'm getting one of them then. Fuck this guy.
Yep. Yeah, so of all the things that evening of that show, that was the one where I was like, I feel like I need to stand up and clap a little bit. Like, I didn't get emotional. Like, I didn't like cry at it.
No,
I cried later.
I didn't cry.
I didn't cry during this death.
I didn't cry for her dying, but like when she stabbed him and went, yeah, get him. Like, I was excited, you know. But like, I also just kind of felt she was gonna die. I was like, she's just been too gung ho not to die. Like, I feel like
and she went out. She went out exactly as her character should. She's always been that strong leader, even at the age she was at. So she just stood there and did what she had to do, gave her battle cry, and went out killing a giant. No better way to go. So yeah, let's see who's next. So this will kind of bring us to. So this will be after the horror library section that you hated because of the way the whites were acting elsewhere in the entire fight. Why are these guys walking around? So you're right. When she closes the door and like one tiny like click and they all go off and she has to just start running again. So the Hound and Barrett, because the Hound, like halfway through the fight, he was like, I can't fucking do this anymore. He's like, we're fighting death.
Yeah, and that's not the first time he's done that.
Well, it doesn't help that, like, the thing in the world that you're most scared of is literally partially what was protecting you that day. So it's kind of like if they were like, okay, Clay, you're in this big battle, but what's going to protect us is a giant wall of spiders. I would be like, I'm just going to go ahead and die now. Thank you very much. Like, you know, with the fire and stuff, he's already messed up as it is when it comes to his fire problem. But yeah, he's done. And he does have like a give up to him. Like, I'm just tired. You know what I mean?
And it's always at like the most inopportune time. You know, it's like, you could have said this when you were just walking here, dude.
Right.
You've been like, you know what? Fuck this. Like, I'm going to go as far south as I can and just live my life out until these things finally make their fucking way, or you guys actually succeed. But you know what? If, like, I'm going to be done with it, it's not going to be done with it while the fucking fight's going on. Like, I'm not going to go, well, this was a bad decision. I might as well die.
Yeah. By the way, buddy with a flaming sword, why don't you hold him off while I have this friggin' existential crisis?
Right? Like, yeah, especially when he's looked at you not once nor twice, but thrice times. And it's like, hey, and then finally, none of that works. And he goes, well, if you're not going to do it for yourself or us or anybody else, do it for her. And like,
right, because she comes, because that scene is actually before the library. She's just like running off the edge, and she just comes out of that thing onto the roof, and they're all like tumbling past her. And at that point, the Hound's like, all right, let's go. So at that point, she runs off to the library, and they start looking for her. And so they meet up. I like that they're patrolling the hall like with his flaming sword, like as their light. I'm like, you know, that's horrible. Like, you can't see anything in front of you if you're holding that shit right in front of you in the dark. That sword, it's like, that's horrible for you seeing things. You got to hold that thing above your head, man. Something.
Yeah, there was a couple times where there was like, I can't remember which scene it was, but he comes around the corner and he did what you would, like, any person would do, especially like any kind of tactical thing. Like, you would shift the sword as you're like going around this corner, you know, so you can swing and blah blah blah. But like, you could tell he shifted it, and like the Hound wasn't like fucking ready for it or whatever because the heat was a little too much because like in the fucking episode as they pan like down the corridor to look at them, like he like kind of moves his head back like slowly and like looks directly at the flame, and I couldn't tell if that was just like the actor like kind of letting the character take over, you know, and being like
fear of fire, or
if it was,
actually being
or if it was actually like fuck that was close, shit that's hot, you know, like from the actual actor.
Right. Yeah, so they find her. It's one of the standard things where like she comes barreling down the hall and they have to go grab her, and then they run back and they end up barricading themselves in the Great Hall after Barrick does like he has like his Christ pose moment, like where he's holding back them all, like he's spread out across that doorway, and they're just they're getting their stabby stabs in, but they're not getting by him, and then I guess I thought he died. Like I thought he died there, but then like I guess he falls from the door and keeps running. I'm like, dude, you just got stabbed like 12 times by each of those, and you're like still hauling ass down the hall. I was like, way to go, man, because you have enough time to fall.
This dude's calling in all of his fucking Wolverine abilities and fucking revives right now, right here.
That was his entire job. That's why the Lord of Light brought him back 19 times, was so he could be there to let her escape. So they barricade themselves. Him, Barrick, and Arya, and the Hound barricade themselves in the Great Hall. And you know, as Barrick dies, you know, the Red Witch is there, the Red Witch is there, and she says something like, you know, we meet again, or it's been a long time, or something. And then Arya's like, I fucking know you. And you know, but we haven't seen you since you haven't seen me since season 3, and that's what she told her back in season 3. Then she's like, you know, those eyes, I see them. They're gonna, you know, I see different color eyes in your eyes, like that. You're gonna close them all or whatever. And she said like brown ones and green ones and blue ones, and that's when like you see Arya like figure it out. Mm-hmm. Like she's like,
and that's when I wanted like the supernatural part to kick in a little bit,
right?
Know?
Or at least like a Rambo getting dressed montage. Like here I am tying all my shit on.
Yeah, it would have been kind of cool to see her point of view instead of Bran and the cameraman's point of view. Mm-hmm. You know, right? Like we see it from the White Walker's point of view when he's getting rushed. And it was like, come on, man. Like, you know homeboy's gonna die right here. Like, why is it a dumb, like,
you know Theon?
Like, you know he's just gonna, like...
Theon, in the Weirwood Forest, like, Theon and his group, he had he's like another second ringer that died. Like, he's he's second ring. He's not first ring. He's definitely second ring. And for Bran to first tell him that he's a good man, knowing what he's been through as Reek and knowing that he doesn't have a cock and knowing, you know, everything that's happened to him, like you could see that like I'm whole again in his eyes.
Yeah.
And then he said thank you, and you know, because Theon was trying to apologize for what he did earlier, like when he took over Winterfell and stuff, and Bran's like, you're here for what you need to be here for. Mm-hmm. All of what you did brought you here. And you know, so at that point, with all the whites, they had all stopped. Like he fought all the ones that were rushing at him, and then the ones that the Night King controlled, he was just like, you guys just chill on the outside ring. Like, don't do anything. And so
then Theon's like fucking 4 badass guys that
his bodyguards,
done nothing the whole fucking time.
They can't risk getting hurt. Because then all their people die.
I'd rather have seen like those guys step up and Theon like at least maybe get in a couple good hits on those guys and still die, instead of him just running at the fucking head honcho guy, who then just grabs his shit like he is the biggest bitch in the fucking world and is like, you know, and I know it's like, there is your sacrifice so Arya can come in and do it. Like, it's just dumb. I don't know why, but like this episode,
you're so mad.
Yeah, because
I don't know. I think the overhype is part of your problem.
Yeah, I guess for how hyped as it was, and from what I've came to expect, like this was just, to me, I don't care that there wasn't future source material, but this was just like fan service of like, oh, we know all these people like these guys, and we really want them all to like meet up at the fucking end.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nah, this is GOT. Jamie should be dead. Tar should be dead. Bran should almost certainly be dead. Like, he should be like a fucking floating head in a jar at this point.
Can we just talk about something real quick? Where the fuck was he? Of this show.
Yeah, that's another thing that we're going to find out, that like 7 episodes from now, that was all.
There ain't 7 episodes left.
Well, I know, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just.
I want to know where
like,
he went, because he couldn't just been hanging out in Ravens.
Yeah, like, you only can get in Ravens. Like, we've seen them get in other shit, man. Like, he's not useless. I don't understand where they're writing him like he's useless. And especially if you're the fucking center of all knowledge, like you, and if you can quote unquote see the future, you could have helped them have at least a better strategy, so not so many people had to have died.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know, man.
Winterfell's also going to be like, it's lucky it's called Winterfell and cold most of the fucking time there, because there are so many bodies that now need to be moved.
Thank God it's cold right now and not going to get
like,
stinky.
I mean, there are 12 feet high fucking piles of bodies. And it wasn't like, and that's just the thing though, only the White Walkers dudes exploded. Everybody else just was a corpse that went like
right
to the ground.
When Jon crashed his dragon, and then the Night King's dragon also got injured, and Dany had Drogon blow dragon fire on the Night King, and he did a T-1000 walk out of the fire. And then I do have to admit, like, even though I knew it was useless, I was kind of hoping that Jon was going to make it to him before he could raise all the dead up. But that was kind of cool, like being, you know, a half of a football field from the guy. And like he starts to do the arm motion, and Jon's seen it at Hardhome, so he's like, "Whoa, shit! I gotta go! I gotta get there!"
But like honestly, Jon should have died right there.
Yeah,
it's
like
just
the fact that he didn't.
Was...
Oh well, he did, but see, Dany saved him, so you know that means that his boo is not that mad at him for being her cousin.
But that's what I'm saying, though. Like the way these
nephew.
things have like been going, and even though they were there's just too many of them. Like, he would have died in moments. Yeah,
there was a lot of times where there's a lot of things around people that didn't end up dying.
Yeah, like, well, that's the problem. Like, and I think that's what annoys me about it, is they painted this thing in such an apocalyptic scale, and then they showed people in, like, these just dire trench situations that even just going, it's TV, you still have a hard time going, why are they alive?
Right.
Like, that shouldn't have happened. And that is, at the end of the day, like my big problem with this. And that's why I was like, this is just a fanfare episode. Like, this was just, we got a big budget. We're going to try to do a bunch of cool shit. And
which on any other TV show would have been the heralded greatest thing ever, but because of what show it is, we're all like, why wasn't I hurt? Why didn't you hurt me, Daddy? Why didn't you make me feel bad by the end
like,
of this?
I pay for the punishment.
I've never been
fucking make me feel, right?
Game of Thrones, you pay for your punishment. I like that. That's a new tagline. Speaking of being swarmed,
and I'm not saying like the next 3 or 4 episodes. I don't even know how many episodes are left.
3.
Like
mm-hmm.
that they can't just ruin me completely. Like we haven't even got to like Cersei being on screen, and like that woman can do some of the most fucked up vile shit to anybody ever, because she don't give a fuck anymore. So
nope.
You know, there may be like a hard part where I'm like, you know what? Winterfell really want that so fucking bad. I complained for a whole lot of nothing.
And that's fine. People listening can come back and hear you eat crow later on. That's fine.
I hope I do, man. Like, I want to be like, okay, that was worth it, instead of just, I like the fighting that I kind of saw.
Well, I hope they release a lightened version of the episode. Like, they take it back to the editing booth and just like, I know you darkened it, man. And like, I understand, especially the first part of the episode, like the first part, like when the Dothraki, yes, I'm not real wild that they completely destroyed that entire army from the plot at all. Like, Dany has nothing when it comes to that army anymore.
Right.
But like
I don't mind the whole army dying, but I just didn't want them to be fireflies. Like, I was like, let me see some dudes on some horses fuck some shit up. Like,
Right.
Or at
but
least
the sheer massive amount of that army, like when that dude riding that horse, like as they're all charging and then suddenly he looks up and like then they hit a wall, I was like, oh shit. And at that point, and then like you had like when Jorah came riding back, it was so dark I couldn't tell if he was a zombie or not. Like I thought his eye was gone. I was like, is he a zombie? Like that's crazy.
And that opening part of it being dark like that for the like, we're not gonna let you know what's behind the door kind of terror, I'm okay with that. But then at a certain point, I know it's nighttime. Mm-hmm. So you know what? Just give me a fucking camera that shows me the shit. I know it's nighttime. Like I don't need everything to be filmed from 20 yards out so we can see the scale and at nighttime.
Right.
Right? Like
right. I mean, but both times the army hit something, like, because the next time you see him, they hit the Unsullied, and it's like, it's literally a wall. And I was like, then this is at that point, it was such a monstrous shot that I was like, well, this is over. Like, they just ran through everything, so it's over. Like, this is not good. Like, how is this going to last an hour and a half? Like, they just...
And part of it really shouldn't. Like, the way they hit the Sully and the way... Like, that
it was like
that Sully group parted too many times for troops to get through, and, like, that back wave always kind of shuffled back right to the flame, because you could tell it was the reanimation part of the Sully, but, like... It should have just been faster. Like, the way you were displaying this horde, like, they should have been at those... Flat out should have been at those walls within the first
like World War
10
Z.
minutes.
Yeah, like World War Z style stuff.
If they took out that whole cavalry like that, what was just the king guy floating up going, all right, that was just like an eighth of my power.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, if they maybe showed me him and could tell me, like, I don't know, like by his smirk or something that he's just kind of fucking with them, I'd be like, all right, that's cool. Yeah, do some evil shit, evil guy. Yeah, I get it, right?
The only smirk you got was him coming out of the fire, because he did smirk coming out of the fire when she blew the fire at him. Yeah.
But then you just got them all like snuffed out super quick, and then you get that sullied wall like hit, and that's after like they told people to like fucking retreat. Mm-hmm. They've been hacking and slashing forever. It just, like, that wave, man, like, that wave, dude, that wave from sheer momentum would have killed half of those fucking people.
Right.
You know, it just, like, I know they're the good guys, but you can't paint the bad guy in such a fucked up bad guy way and then make none of those principles apply when the bad guy gets there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like, the whole thing is he kills everybody, and it's just an unstopping army. Like, it was super duper cool when he re-raised them all again, like, hey, you guys understand this is futile, right? Because the whole time I'm sitting here going, every one of them that dies next to them is now an enemy.
Well, he has to raise them, though.
I know that, but I'm just saying, like, you have to know that you're still hacking at this horde, but in the back of your head, like, I know, like, that's why the Hound gave up and stuff like that. You're going, oh, fuck, John here is now a bad dude. Like, I know I don't have to do it right now, but I'm going to have to kill him here shortly if we don't get rid of this fucking guy. Right. And, like, the fact that he lifts them all up again and not, like, because, of course, that's right when the guy gets fucking stabbed. So it's just, like, all for naught, really, with the whole, like, aha, fuck you guys. Like, there was a little bit more fighting going on to the whole, like, ooh, we're dead. But
yeah, I don't think he can raise up whoever's been touched by the dragon glass. So the original army, none of them... So everybody who got up when he raised his arms were all the juicy folks, all the brand new dead folks.
I know, and that's still, like, that was still
a lot of people that died.
Hundreds of fucking people.
Yeah.
Like, that was a whole cavalry.
Yeah, the whole cavalry, all the Unsullied. Now, the Unsullied, I will give them credit that when they showed the shots of the Unsullied, like, their formations, they were, like, 6 or 7 blocks deep and wide. So, like,
no, it was huge.
They got back. They were on the last of their Unsullied as they, like, got to
it was very on the last. I'm just kind of, like, again, they made the bad guy too bad with what he's had previously done that we've never seen. And there's this just crazy unstoppable army. And if you're going to snuff out a whole cavalry unit in under 2 minutes... And then you're telling me that a whole bunch of guys that can just hack and slash, basically, and then a wall of dudes with shields and spears are going to really slow that down longer than 5 minutes, get the fuck out of town, man.
Yeah, not if you're going to make them that massive. Okay, there's a few things I want to touch on about the very end, but there's one part we haven't touched on at all that we can bring up real quick, and that's the crypt. I enjoyed the break a little bit when it was just like when it was just Sansa and Tyrion talking. I believe that when she was down there, I think it was when they were down there that she mentioned that he was the best. He said something like, "We should never, we should have stayed married." And she goes, "You were the best of them." And he was like, "Ow, that's harsh." Of her husband's.
Yeah, well, no, he was like, because she was like, "You were the best of them," and he was like, "Oh God, like what a terrible thought, like that I was your best fucking husband," like not as like he took it as an insult, like just saying that sucks for you if I was your best husband, like shit.
Right, but like when they were hiding, when the crypts came alive, which everybody pretty much had already guessed on that plot point before the show ever happened. Mm-hmm. They're like, oh, okay. So a bunch of people who are all like, mummified are gonna, and they killed I kind of was hoping we were gonna get to see that little girl like kill something, the one that Davos had spoken to at the soup kitchen.
Yeah, I saw a meme that was like, she was terrible at protecting the crypt.
Yeah, right. I mean, they didn't even give her. They gave everybody else like their glory moment. Like this girl was all being cool. They even gave her. I think they gave her a dragon glass dagger. And, like, just to see her, like, get one, just, like, go behind it and, like, stick it. You know what I'm saying? Like, that'd have been cool. I'd have been like, all right, that's awesome.
Well, that was about, like, the realest thing they did. They made a kid fucking useless. They're like, get it out of here. It's a kid.
Right. There's a lot of dead kids in that friggin' crypt now. That sucks. But I did enjoy, like, Sansa and Tyrion's thing, like, when they were hiding behind the tomb. And, like, they were, they both pulled their daggers and, like, held hands. Like, he kissed her hand and stuff. And then, you saw them just, like, we're going, and that was kind of cool.
And that was
very
also, like,
still made it out. That dude, he's gonna die so bad because the Red Witch told him on the cliff at Targaryen land, whatever I lost the name of it. I forget that castle that they both were gonna die, in Westeros. And she's like, I'm leaving now, but I got to come back because I die in I die over here. And she's like, you will too. And he's like, okay, thanks. But so he's gonna get it somehow, and the way he's like skirted death, like even better than Littlefinger, of course. Like I have a really bad feeling for his death. Like he even got a little bit of blood on him this time, so I'm like, is that like that swatch of blood?
Is that like the red rose?
Yeah, right. Or some way like maybe he gets his head cut off or like his throat slit. Like who knows, because the blood was kind of like on his cheek or whatever. But he made it out. Or he made it safe in the crypt when everything died. So, but the crypt scene was interesting, and it was cool. But
I still don't know how those things like broke through those like solid stone walls,
right?
Like, because like none of those fucking crypts were like half-ass crypts. Like that's all like the fam, and even
somebody carved for a long time. On that stone.
And even like the super close people, like every one of those like little casket walls was like fucking 6 inches of stone.
Right, they just bust into it. Yeah, right. Which is like if you're gonna, I feel like the pseudoscience of the dead walking, like they're either super powered or they're not. So if they're just brittle bones holding weapons, then yeah, they just break apart. But how they busted through stone, I feel like the level of reality of the Walking Dead. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but it's like, are they going to be what they are just animated, or are they going to have like super strength? They like tear you apart just by touch, rip. If they get a hold of you, they rip you apart.
That's like the problem, man. It's like, zombies have been such a detailed like culture now that you can't have anything remotely like them without kind of the same rules applying, because even though those guys are White Walkers, like the other things are just zombies. Like that's all they are. Like the only difference is it's not a double tap to the brain, it's black glass or fire. I mean, that's the only difference.
Right.
But then, I mean, because they did the Shamblers, they most certainly did the fucking like full-blown sprinter guys.
Runners.
Like
worst kind of zombie ever.
And then they did we're just in an area with dead people, so something should happen here. Right? Like I hate
it would
when you
be
see, like,
unheard of.
Yeah, I hate when you see a skeleton hand all of a sudden, like, just rip through the ground below, and it's like, tell me that fucking bag of bones made it through that casket, 6 feet of fucking dirt, right? Like,
Right.
that guy's never coming out of the ground. I don't have to worry about the bag of bones. Now, if, like, the bag of bones kind of slightly got reanimated with just, like, loose, gross flesh and they came in through, I'd be like, that's something very terrifying I don't want to ever be near. You know, I just think people, like, don't, when it comes to, like, horror-esque things, unless you have a horror person on there, like, a normal dude just doesn't take that shit into consideration. They're just like, oh, I threw something mean and ugly on the screen. Like, we're good. You know, it's like when you catch CGI blood, you go, the fuck you do that for, man? You didn't need that. And you could have used ketchup right there and it would look better. Right.
All right. So last few things. When we think John is still going to save the day and he's rushing around and he pretty much has to face off against the ice dragon and he's dodging the flames and, you know, doing his best. At one point, he ducks down and is behind like a wall of bodies, and the flames are just pouring over top of him. And then the dragon stops, and he's done. He knows he's not going to make it. Like, he's done. So he stands up. Now, my question to you is: he stands up to die on his feet, maybe, or does he want to test his Targaryen blood? Do we know if Targaryens can be burned by dragon fire? Because we know that Dany can't be burned by fire. Like, she can't, she lays in a fire and doesn't die. So does she get burned by dragon fire? And if not, then he would have been fine and have taken that blast.
If that dead dragon's fire is not different now.
If it's not like kryptonite to Targaryens.
Yeah, or whatever. I mean, because it changed color and shit, you know, so it's like, what is it?
Right.
You know, like, what different kind of flame it is? Or, like, is it just blue because it's actually hotter? You know, or whatever. I don't know, whatever their story
it's blue so we can tell them apart in the sky, man.
Well, yeah, that's exactly what it is. But no, I don't think that was him, like, going, well, let's see if this sets me on fire or not. I think that was just John doing fucking John shit. Going, I ain't never back down from anything else, so if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna fucking die like I'm gonna go out doing something ballsy, and if it does work, like, ooh, another notch on the belt. You know?
Yeah,
like,
right.
I don't, now, if I could see John doing something like that if it was part of the plan. Like, hey, we really need to test out if you're fireproof.
Mm-hmm.
Because that can go a long way for us if you and Dany are both fireproof. Do you understand that? And it's like, okay, yeah, I got it. I don't want to fucking do it. But then, like, John would go stand in front of the flame, like, terrified, and, like, come out and make some joke afterwards. Like, yeah, I can see that happening. But in the midst of a fight, I think that's just him standing up, defending his home.
I kind of hope that we learn. I kind of hope that's part of how, because you talk about wanting to see magic in the show. I want some of Cersei's defenses, like final defenses, to be fire, and like they just walk through it. Like that would be like, as she's, you know, her, you know, as Cersei's gonna die on that throne. There's no way that the ending thing, if she's the one who's not gonna be who's not gonna win the Game of Thrones, Cersei will die in that throne room with the glass of wine in her hand, in her like cute armor, sitting on the throne.
It's Jaime's gonna come out and stab her now and be the.
It's gonna be Arya. It's gonna be Arya
and the queen.
It'll be Arya dressed as Jaime because Jaime died recently and she took his face.
Oh, you think?
Yeah.
I don't think it'll be Arya at all.
It will be Arya. I want her to be everything now. I could just go with her. Just put the camera on her shoulder. Give that girl a GoPro.
I could have had her fucking story 11 years ago as soon as they like fucking carried her off in a cart. Like, I'd have been like, no, that's the one I want to follow out of all of them.
Mm-hmm. But I hope that the Targaryen, that needs to be utilized. Like, you can't get burned, so just go walk through fire and go get him. Because when Dany got chased by the ice dragon, like, while the dragon shots were kind of goofy, like the far ones above the clouds, like when he was like tearing after her and there was like this big jet of fire in front of him, that was kind of cool. But her dress and stuff was still nice and pretty when she got thrown by her dragon, because he was getting. I was afraid for that dragon.
Yeah, that was another dumb scene too.
But it had to get her off so Jorah could save her and protect her. And then Jorah gets to go out.
I know, but like, if that dragon could have took the fuck off after it threw her on the ground, it most certainly would have been like, hey, I should jump the fuck up in the air right now is the few that are grabbing me that I obviously can't get off me. Because all he did was fly and then shake and then fly and then shake. Like,
took him a minute.
Why wouldn't he have done that first? Like,
it took him a minute. It took a minute because he had to let Jorah protect them all, and Dany got a few stabs in there, and he kept getting stabbed and getting back up, and the man went out doing what he has always done, and all he's ever wanted to do is protect Dany from episode 1.
All he ever wanted to do is get in Dany's pants.
Well, he is the Lord of the Friend Zone. We know that much. But I did like watching him like do that. Like I got misty a little bit.
No, that was cool.
Didn't.
Like, I mean, I didn't really give a fuck, to be honest with you. Like, because the dragon thing right before it annoyed me so much that it ruined that part for me, because there was no sensible way for that scene to go the way it did. Like, the dragon should have just jumped up. If anything, if Dany was going to fall, the dragon should have been jumping to fly the fuck away and do that giant body shake, and Dany gets lost with the bodies going down. Like, maybe not from a super duper high, so you're like, oh, well, you should have fucking died right there. But, like, right as the initial jump and he's shaking, then she should have got flown the fuck off. Not just like, oh, here, and then all of a sudden she can't hold on to a fucking dragon that she's been riding for the past 3.5 years. Just dumb shit throughout this episode that it is boggling the way they decided to, like, make the next event happen. Like, Jorah's scene, man, like, his scene was cool, but getting Dany there was fucking stupid.
Unnecessary in your opinion?
Yeah, like Jon landing down over there by Bran because all of a sudden the sky's dark, but you can still see everybody fighting. Like, he's not gonna go do anything. Whatever.
I truly hope that the last 3 episodes of this show like bring you back in. I mean, I still
love the show. Like,
I kind of wonder, like,
this show.
Let's talk about coming up next. Like, how much is left? First things off, how many people do you actually have left to fight? Number one, other than your main 7 or 8 characters.
You have nothing. You have nothing. You have the paid for army.
A few unsullied.
Yeah, I mean, well, if we're not, like, I'm just talking. You have Cersei. You have her paid army and the fucking Iron Fleet, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, but she's got and all the Lannister army and anybody in other houses. But like, what does Jon and them have? Nothing. Like, everybody's dead or mostly.
Well, yeah, I mean, we got to see who's like left out of this whole squad. But then you got the whole thing of like the sister going back to the Iron Isles, and you know she's gonna do something badass to be like, you guys know he's bullshit, right? And whatever, they're going to get your naval battle with that or some crap like that. And this was like, I don't know, dude, if we're going to fucking chalk this Night King up to this big badass thing, I wanted to see more fucking Night King. Like, I want more Night King. I want more of the other fucking 4 frozen dudes that are super badass doing badass shit, man. Like, I don't want a dark, blurry horde all fucking night and then dumb scenes that are just cliches for a show to get someone where they need to be. Frustrating. Frustrating.
So mad.
I'm glad we didn't talk about this yesterday. I'm glad I felt bad that we couldn't talk about this yesterday.
Man, you're saying it would have been worse yesterday?
Probably, because then I'd be like, and I was so fucking sick, and I'm watching this stupid sick show, blah, blah, blah. Well, I don't know. I'm hoping that the next show we get, you know, it's all in wonderful daytime, and
yeah, I don't want to see their nighttime anything.
And I hope the next 3 episodes are just everybody getting where the fuck they need to be and dying or finishing out whatever it is they need to be. Like, if it turns into this, like, regroup and march on, and then the last episode again is just like kind of like another battle there, and they're like, hey guys, we gave you 2 super duper big battles and one was in daytime, thanks for watching. Like, I will probably like under the category of watch Game of Thrones all the way till season 7, you know, like How I Met Your Mother. Watch it all the way to the last season. Like, don't even fucking bother with the last season. It's just stupid. It ruins the whole fucking show.
Right. Well, the first 2 episodes this season were good. This one was, it was what it was. It was for production.
This was Paula Abdul, man. This is 2 steps forward and 1 step back.
Well, for storytelling and what we're used to, it may not have been up to par for production value and production, like the sheer 55 straight night shoot day, like night shoots.
For the effort, for the view,
the visuals.
If
you could see what they did.
If I could see them, like, I know they're fucking cool.
I feel that's part of, like, the part that bothers me is, like, you guys went to so much work for this and we couldn't see it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, yes, exactly.
Why would you spend an ungodly amount of money, have 750 casted crew, 55 nights of straight shooting in friggin' frigid-ass weather to not show it to us? Why would you do that?
Yeah.
Yep, I understand. I hear where you're coming from. But yeah, let's see who's left to march south. Let's see what Cersei does. Let's see. I mean, after fighting the dead,
if they're gonna pull the plot armor for this episode and remove the Night King, then I need, like, fucked up shit to happen with Bronn and Jaime. Like, I really want them to be buddies, but one of them now need to kill each other. And honestly, I hope it's kind of Jaime killing him, so Jaime kills his sister later because he knows it's the right thing to fucking do. Because you're gonna get that whole like good son thing where both the kids are hanging from the cliff and the mom's like, ooh, that one's really my bloodline, but this one over here, that's my nephew's actually the good kid, and this one's really the serial killer. Like, what do I do? You know, like, and Jaime has to make that decision. Like, I think Jon may die actually before it happens, like before it gets there, and it'll boil down to like some bullshit of like not even Dany. It'll be like Arya or her, or, you know, like his newfound like kind of boo. Right? Like, it may be just something fucked up, weird, like, because the show just will go, nah, that's where the scene's at and how it's going down. But, like, I personally want Jaime to kill his sister. Like, I don't want it to be one of the Starks, because that's almost, like, too full circle. And I know this is also, like, well, that's really fucking full circle, because he's the Kingslayer. You know, like, that's his title. But I want it to be the redemption arc, and you know goddamn well that, like, snuffing her out is probably his, like, biggest worst thing.
You do know that
all rolled in the same.
You do know that if he if he stabs her, especially like right through the chest, it would be killing the thing he loves the most, whether or not he wants to admit it. And what if Jaime's Azor Ahai? What if he becomes the Lord of Light after this, or whatever?
Like, Jesus Christ, that'd be fucking bonkers, right? But, like, I mean, Tyrion called him out on that too, you know? He was like, no, you're different. You always knew what she was, and yet you still loved her, you know? And even Jaime was like, yeah, can't say much on that one.
Turns that sword into Lightbringer, man, stabbing it right through her chest, and he becomes the end of the one who ends the night, or whatever the shit they call Azor Ahai. But yeah, that's, you know, there's a few folks who could kill. I think Jon Snow's done killing people. I don't need him to kill anybody else. He looks cool enough. Let's let everybody. We could get Clegane Bowl now that the Hound's still alive. Him and his brother could go at it. That would be a crazy fight. Everybody's hoping for it. And
and that's what I'm saying. Like, that kind of shit needs to happen. Mm-hmm. You know, like, those two need to both die. Right.
Like, both kill each other.
But yeah, whether it's both of them killing each other, or like, you know,
the Hound gets him, and then
like Arya stabs the Hound because she's like, you were on my list, and he was kind of already dying, so it's basically her just putting him out of his misery. Like, you lived a good life, but I can mark you off my list, kind of thing. Right. You know, some shit like that. And
he asks her to kill him. He's like, I was on your list. Like, I'm hurt. I'm broke. You know, maybe his back's broke or some shit, like Bane style or whatever. You know, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. But, like, everybody needs to, in these 3 episodes, there needs to be a significant chunk of people who just meet whatever their thing is head on. Like, I don't want 2 episodes of building
to a last giant fight.
And then one more episode of, like, okay, we're going to try to fit everything into this next hour and a half, or whatever it is. You know, it's like, don't do that.
I'm with you.
Give me an hour and a half of, like, this ring of people, And then the next one is that ring of people. And then by the time it's the last episode, we're just down to the people that need to be here. And of them, 99.9% are going to die.
Right. And the last thing I want to say about all of this is that throughout these 8 seasons, the people that have died, even the surprises, have failed at playing the Game of Thrones. So
Yes.
the people who are left, maybe we shouldn't give them such a hard time about their plot armor because they've just played the game correctly. Or they've gotten just lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time. But this plot armor is going to help them because who's left is who should be left.
Yeah, I'm not mad with like.
It wasn't
who is
aimed
left.
at you. That
I
wasn't
know
aimed
that,
at you.
Yeah, but I'm not mad that like who's left. I'm just, you can't paint the army that you're going against the way it did and then show, fucking some dude on his back with 9 fucking flailing dead guys on top of him, and then a scene later, like he's like, "Whew, barely made it out of that one." It's like, "Oh, you fucking did you? Okay."
I'll tell you what, the guy that plays Tormund, he told when he was standing on the mounds of bodies fighting off the extras, fighting off the stunt guys, he told them, "You try to get me down." He's like, "Your job is to pull me down and kill me, quote unquote, kill me." And he said, "There's some takes where Tormund got killed." He's like, "Cause they got me." And like I was up there hacking I wasn't hacking for Tormund, I was hacking for Christopher's life, which his name is Christopher. He's like, I was hacking for Christopher's life. I told him to kill me, and they were coming at me. They weren't letting up. So I gave him props for that dude. It's cool that dude's like. He's like Tormund in real life. Like when he was talking, I was like, dude, you're kind of like that normally, aren't you? That's just how you are in it.
Yeah.
So that's it. That's episode 3, final season of Game of Thrones, guys. We thank you for listening. This was an amazing episode. It had its things. I don't want you to think we're just shitting on it the entire time, but Corey was. I was trying to pull him out. I was trying to pull him out.
And the worst part is like, I'm not even mad about like the Arya shit or anything else. Like, I'm purely just mad about what you said was cool. Like, someone down your line went, "Nah, this is good. Put this out to the fucking audience." Like, no one anywhere was like, "We need to brighten this a little bit." No test audience or people celebrating champagne when it was all done. Like
I can't see that.
This shit's kind of dark, dude. I thought I fucking killed that guy over here, man. Hey, watch my really cool sword swing, right? Oh, we don't see it.
Yeah, it's like, who was the editor? Let's see. Who do we blame this on?
I don't know. I remember reading the name at the end of it that's like producer of episode or some shit, right before everything gets going. And I was like, "Oh, man, there's going to be a lot of weight on you tonight." Well, you know what? You fucking botched it.
Well, the DP, the director of photography, there was a quote that he said, when I got the script, as a fan, I went, "Wow." And as a DP, I went, "Fuck." I was like, yeah, that sums up that episode completely. So
yeah, I remember reading somebody's tweet, like, about the guy, like, defending it being so dark and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, there's just no excuse for it, dude.
Right. I need a lightened version. 15%.
Game of Thrones literally stops the fucking world, and this is what you decided to show me.
Right.
It's just unacceptable.
Wah wah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week for episode 4. Until then, stay tuned.
See you guys.
No, you can't say bye like that. You have to say bye the new way.
Oh, I had to say peace, peace upon you. Yes, peace upon you, everyone.